グリザイアの迷宮。
Bonjour Watcher, this is Johnny Bang of 45 and welcome back to the Labyrinth of Grisaia. Yeah, Labyrinth of Grisaia. I'm gonna continue where we left off
続きからよ。
last episode. Yeah, now Yuuji and her mother running away. Yes. She rented an apartment not far from her childhood home and told me that we'd be living there as a family of two from now on. Only 2 weeks later, before we were settled in, my father tracked us down. Sorry for interruption. My girlfriend just called me just now. So yeah.
バカが俺から逃げられるとでも思ったのか
Screaming with rage, he knocked my mother to the ground, kicking and punching her viciously. What the heck? And for the first time in my life, I stood up to him. Stop it, Dad. Mom didn't do anything wrong. My father's eyes went wide at my unexpected interference. Releasing his grip on his wife's hair, he then struck me hard in the side of the face. Ouch! The impact was so strong I could feel my brain rattle against my skull. Stunned, I fell down on my backside. I was only a child, no matter how hard I fought. I couldn't hope to match the sheer strength of a grown man. Still, I couldn't just crawl away. Now that Kazuki was gone, it was my job to protect my mother. She was the only thing I had left. I understood all too well how miserable it felt to have no one on your side. I clutched tightly to my father's leg, holding on as if the blow grew increasingly brutal. Ma had found a way to live by protecting me. And by taking that beating for her, it felt as though I discovered some point to my own existence. Maybe this was the reason I'd been born. True, I was defective compared to my big sister, but now that she was gone, I was so meaningless anymore. I was the backup, the one who bear the brunt if Kazuki died. It all felt very clear to me now.
このクソガキ
My father swung his down, furiously catching me square in the temple. The cheap gold watch on his wrist must struck my face. There was a dark, crunchy sound from my nose. Look, one blood began to ooze down, slow down my forehead. What the heck? When mom saw the blood on my face, her voice rose to a frantic scream.
ごめんなさい、ごめんなさい、ごめんなさい、ごめんなさい。もうしません。もう二度と逆らいません。全部私が悪いんです。謝ります。何度でも謝ります。ごめんなさい、ごめんなさい。許してください。お願いです。堪忍してください。何でもします。
もう俺から逃げようだなんて考えるんじゃねえぞどこへ逃げても必ず探し出すからな
And then mom apologized countless times and my father ground his foot against her head and the three of us went back home. Not to state the obvious, but Kazuki was waiting for us there. Nothing had changed since we left. The girl of that house was there and there was no replacing her. Still, for a while after we returned, my father was unusually quiet. Maybe the man was sober by what he'd done.
悪かったな
Once or twice, he apologized. But that period of reality calm didn't last long. We were quickly eaten through the money Kazuki had left behind, and my father couldn't adjust to our newly meager lifestyle. His debt accumulated until we were all but buried under their wing. And as his fears about the future grew, that once again started to quiet his anxiety. He threw explosions of violence. Nothing was going to change. If we stay with this man, he's just going to drag us down with him. For the second time, why might I decide to leave? Okay, we messed up on our first try. He found us because we ran to such a familiar place. This time we were going somewhere where nobody knew us, sometime we never ever seen before. When you try to lay low, the basic rule is to look for an area with a large population and a high rate of residential turnover. But my mother, naturally enough, didn't know that at the time. So after a few hours transferring from train to train, seemed like random, we arrived somewhere in the rural southwest of Gunma Prefecture. I don't recall it too clearly. I was still a child being pulled along by his mother, and it was all a little overwhelming. But I do remember it was a quiet country town about 40 minutes from the central Takasaki station. Mom had walked out of the door with nothing but her clothes on her back, telling my father she was taking me shopping. Given the circumstances, we had to be able to take much money. At a small real estate agency on the outskirts of town, nearly half of our escape fund vanished for a deposit on a one-story rental house.
ここが今日から私とユージの住むお家よ。
Let me guess what you're gonna become, mother. A prostitute to get the money. Mom wanted privacy from the neighbors, but renting a detached house had been a real financial stretch. The place we found hadn't been inhabited in years. It was as desolated and dusty as a haunted house. There wasn't even a flush toilet. This it was exactly the most pleasant place you could call home, but the only thing that really mattered was that Mom and I had it to ourselves. That was a day. That was enough to make even a shabby house feel like paradise. Mom had her name removed from our old certificate to yesterday and appeared to have our change our address from she restricted to different stations as a victim of domestic violence. After experiencing circumstances to the local school, she handled the procedure for my transfer as well. We had a home and I had a school to attend, but we barely had time to catch our breath before the main problem reared to its ugly head. To put it simply, there was no money. After a week spent sighing at her rapid tiniest wallet, Mom steeled herself and went out to find employment. Her days were spent working part-time at a canning factory, her nights at a hostel in the snack bar near stations.
もうね、私にはユージしか残ってないの。あなたが一人前になって、自分で働いて暮らしていけるようになるまでは、私が頑張るから、何も心配しなくていいのよ。
Mom was often so young that her education effectively ended before she left middle school. Determined to keep me from suffering the same hardships, she threw herself into a grueling work schedule. In the mornings, I left the house with her when she headed out for a part-time job at the cannery. As we walked together, Mom pushes along the beat-up old bicycle she bought used. Our neighbors would stare with undisguised hostility and whisper to each other. The woman who ran away from the city to ditch her husband. That was the only name they knew my mother by that insular little town. When someone said that woman in our neighborhood, there was no mistaking who it was.
おはようございます。
When she greeted that, there was no response. But once we passed by, we could hear a whisper from behind our back. What was that? I don't remember becoming her friend. And my mother opted for nothing but a silent nod instead. It would be, I can't tell what's going on inside that woman's head. When you get right down to it, they didn't like having some stranger outside and a child in their neighborhood. The place had that quasi-medieval atmosphere typical of small rural towns. Just the fact that we come from Tokyo seems to invite hatred. And it certainly didn't help that Mom was a single mother with no local ties. We were more or less ostracized. Seasons changed, but the eyes of our neighbors never grew any warmer. The only locals who welcomed my mother's arrival were the male customer at the snack bar by the station. That night job must contribute to her negative reputation as well. One day a classmate at school used a word I never heard before. I honestly didn't know what it meant. So when I got home that afternoon, I asked my mother. Somebody told me your mom's a whore at school today. What does that mean? Sometimes innocence can be crueler than malice. Me in my case, my mom was to quickly defeat a smile onto her face and say only I'm sorry.
ごめんね。ユージ。ごめんなさい。
I didn't have the first idea why she was apologizing to me. It was more irritating than anything else. But I did understand that I must say something I shouldn't have. What does Mom have to apologize for anyway? She's protecting me, isn't she? Mom was working hard to support the two of us. She didn't have a thing to be ashamed of. There was no reason for her to be sorry. Maybe as a child, or maybe exactly because I was a child, I believe that's absolute. My mom was a kind person, but no one treated her kindly. She finally managed to escape that, but she was still apologizing every time she opened her mouth. Very quickly, I learned to hate the words, I'm sorry. I wanted to grow out right away. Watching my mother sacrifice herself to keep me fed was just too frustrating. I needed to become an adult so I could help her too. But unfortunately, you couldn't help her mother. At a young age, I was already starting to strain for something like self-sufficiency. Still, there wasn't much I could do to contribute. With the exception of washing the rice and selling our rice cooker when one came home drunk from her bar. To be honest, my mother wasn't the best cook even when she was sober. Back when she was living on her own as a hostess with a nocturnal lifestyle, she mainly got on by convenience store lunches and the snacks her customer brought at her at work. And even after she married and became a mother, we usually ate out or had something delivered. It was very rare for her to make an actual meal. When she told me we were going to cook for ourselves from now on to save money, all I could do think was wonder how long that's going to last. As it turned out, our dinners were mostly canned food Mom took home from her part-time job, plopping onto her plate, supplemented by the very best stir-fried or boiled dishes. And late in the months, as our money ran low waiting for the next paycheck, there were days when we had nothing but fried rice on our table.
今日はこれしかないの。ごめんね。
It was a showy looking lump of rice with fish paste or frozen vegetables as the only other ingredients. Now, I was used to simple food and I didn't mind the taste. The only thing I hated about those meals was hearing my mom apologize as she put them on the table. Every time she reflects in mother, I'm sorry, I thought of all the times she said that phrase before. The chain of meaningless words stretched back into the past. It made me sad for reasons I could express. We carried on like that for a full year. It definitely wasn't an easy situation, but I tried to lessen my mother's burden by adjusting to our frigid new lifestyle as best that I could. I didn't need anything more. Well, a decently sized fridge would make things a little more convenient. Not exactly a Charles Dickens novel, just a humble life. It wasn't so bad. I could go through my daily routine without causing problems for someone else. I have enough food that I wouldn't starve. When I was in Chelsea, I could go to the doctor. The two of us just had to scrap along like this for a while. Eventually, I started working and we were able to afford a little more in the way of luxuries. But just as that modest hope was starting to take root in my heart, it was ripped away by a terror I nearly managed to forget. And the music stopped. Don't tell me the father found them. Dad found us again. He appeared abruptly one evening just as my mother was putting on her makeup in preparation for a night out at the snack bar.
絶対に探し出すと言っただろうが。
I had no idea how he discovered our whereabouts, but at that moment I was less shocked by my father's sudden arrival and by how dramatically he had changed. The stench of alcohol wet from his body stinging my nose. He'd always been a slender man, now his cheeks were hollow, his clouded eyes sunken deep in their sockets, reflected the dim electric light with sickly sheen. Glaring at the two of us as we stood there in shock, my father pushes his way into the room. And taking Mom's wallet from her handbag, he pulled out the 1000 V and went inside and thrust them towards me.
酒を買ってこい。できるだけ強いやつだ。
No, hell no. Getting the tree very, very, very tight onto my chest, I looked at my mother with pleading eyes. What do we do? What should I do? Just saying the word, tell me to fight, and I threw myself at him without the slightest hesitation. Mom answered my unspoken word with a pitiful artificial smile I knew so well.
ごめんね、ユージ。お願い、お酒買ってきてくれる？
That smile made me incredibly sad. So? A year later, just before my life, my father had owned his credit card about 320 million yen, 32 million yen. I have no way of knowing exactly how the man spent that year, but it's probably safe to assume he came out a less than responsible lifestyle. In fact, it seems he sunk so deeply into self-indulgence that his debt ballooned to many times its original size. And just to top things off, his lantern alcoholism had returned with a vengeance. The man had ignored us totally for a year after our escape. Why track us down now? What was the point? I had to assume he was looking for money. Not that we had to give him any, of course. Mom had apparently been putting aside what little she could in hope to send him to college, but we were struggling just to keep our food on the table. Everything we had in the world would have been made a dent in the amount we owned. He was indescribably frustrated to buy that man alcohol with money Mom and I had saved by pinching every penny. Still, neither of us knew how to fight back. As I returned home after buying a 2-liter bottle of shochu at the neighborhood supermarket, literally the car park near our house caught my eyes. On my way out, still reeling from shock, I even noticed it was there. It must be the vehicle my father had driven here. Had he sold off the foreign car he used to own for some quick cash? Peering in the window as I passed, I could make out a pile of empty chew-chain cans and the dirty blank inside. My father just might have been living in that thing. Pathetic. A man who drove a car like that had sunk his claw into us yet again. What was going to happen to me and my mother now? Even for a child, the thought was enough to prompt an unceasing wave of fear and disgust. I hate him. I wish he'd just die. The words ooze out from somewhere deep inside me like thoughts sludge, a shiver ran down my spine. When you wish for something like that, it might come back to haunt you one day, someday. Just later when my sister died, I regret it in the end. Regret it? Really? Would I really feel anything if that leech of man ended up dead? Just knowing that I brought that bottle of alcoholism for, I could barely keep myself from smashing against this ground. How much could I regret the death of someone like him? I don't know. Oh shit! I squeezed the bottle and beat my lonely. Tried to counter, but in that moment I heard the glass breaking inside the house and Mom screamed. Mom? Something happened to her mother. A bewildered storm of emotions threw me, uncertainty, fear, anger, but even so, I knew I had to help Mom. But she told me when I burst into the house.
お前は金の卵を産むガチョウだ。もう一度天才を産ませてやる。そうすりゃ。俺はまた
Oh yeah, his father wanted to have sex with the mother at here. And that's the part where I think both of them die. When I pushed open the door, I was greeted by the sight of my father, his eyes bloodshot and clouded with madness, forcibly facing my mother against the ground. Mom?
ユージ、ダメ、こっちに来てはダメよ。
ユージ、てめえちゃんと酒は買ってきたのか。
はい。
買ってきたんならそれそこに置いて、てめえは出てけ。しばらく帰ってくるんじゃねえぞ。
Kill them! Kill the father! Stop it, Dad. What are you doing with her?
うるせえ、ぶっ飛ばされてえのか。とっととどっか行け。外で遊んでこい、クソガキが。
ユージ、行きなさい。私なら大丈夫だから。
まともに子育てもできなかったお前が一丁前に母親面してんじゃねえよ。
Roaring with anger, my father smacked my mother in the face. Even as she cried out, my mother forced that pathetic excuse for a smile onto her face, her eyes bleeding for me to plead. The bitter taste of helplessness filled my heart. I left the bottle of tatami mat, turned my back, and ran out the door. I ran away. I abandoned my mother. I couldn't stop him. I was a child. What else was I supposed to do? The excuses came easily enough, but I was still ashamed of myself. All that talk about having my mother, in the end, I deserted her. What if something terrible happened to mother? Stupid, something terrible already was happening. Mom was crying. She was crying over her own powerlessness. And I wasn't any different. Even as I watched mother suffering, I cringed at my father's rage. And then I ran away without doing anything, without even trying. At this rate, nothing was going to change. No one was ever going to save us. Our neighbor hates trouble. They probably slammed the door into my face if I asked for help. I thought about going to the police, but if we made it to something serious, we'd end up being forced to move all over again. The story was frustrating, and the thought of some bored police in the dim vigilator stations near catch yourself your own family squabbles was downright infuriating. What would Kazuki have done at a time like this? Of course, she would have used her head and come up with some clever solution to fix everything. I was no genius. Idiots can't solve their problems in one neat stroke. Still, even an idiot can learn how to blunder their way forward eventually. Even if it didn't work the first time, we could just look for another chance to run away from that. We just had to start over again from square one as many times as it took. Holding on to that newfound determination, I stopped in tracks and headed back towards the house as fast as I could. Oh, you go back to your house. I was worried about my mother. I could see her being beaten, punched, kicked, apologized again and again, answered by more blows. My imagination urged me on until my leg could keep up, frustrated inside me with every straight. By the time I reached home, my heart was pounding like an alarm bell and my mind was shimmering with anger. I slipped quietly into the house, trying not to give myself away. Inside, I found my mother pinned to the ground. I didn't hear my father. Mama.
相変わらずいい体してるぜ、お前は。
The room was filled with a choky animal stink. In the light of the setting sun slanted in through the window, I could see my mother's face. Her eyes were unfocused. And when I took in the sight of my father beating a neck with expression of endangered pleasure on his face, the first thought popped up my mind was a childish misunderstanding. He's hitting her. Stop it, get off her.
ああ、てめえ何戻ってきてんだよ。しばらく帰ってくんなって言っただろうが。邪魔すんな、このクソガキが。
And I jumped forward indecently to pull that away. He hit me with all his strength. The ruthless backhand blow smashed into the side of my face. As I fell down to the ground, I remember feeling some strange object inside my mouth. Later, I realized it was a fragment of a broken tooth. I lost consciousness. Oh shit! No! No! And I opened my eyes about an hour had passed. The red grew dim and my visions were that I could only just make out my mother, but she was lying perfectly still, her body bruised and battered. I would kill him. A flash of white-hot anger ran through me. In an instant, the passage thought I wish he just died had been transformed into a concrete urge to kill. Tate, Takakai. Nothing was ever going to change if we keep running away. Nothing was ever going to change unless I changed myself. No matter how big the reality might be, I had to face it. I had to fight back. There was no other choice. Kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him. As the words rang out like a siren inside my mind, I reflexively reached out and took the bottle of alcohol still sitting on the floor where I left it. Fierce anger pulled through until I felt my head would burst, and cutting through all I thought I heard sister's voice. My sister's voice.
文字を書いたり箸を持つのは右。ボールを投げたりバッターボックスに立つときは左。じゃあ、人を殺すときはどっちの手？
With my right hand, I lifted the bottle over my father's hand, then swung it down on the back of his head as hard as I could. A jarring impact ran through my arm as glass met skulls. With a tremendous crashing sound, the bottle shatters against my father's head. Covering an awkward jet frame on my hands, my father lets out a few loud growls. Then went still. Are you done, father? Mom, are you okay? Come on, get up. We have to get out of here. I tried to pull her towards the door, but she didn't move. Her face was solid, covered in vicious dark red bruises, and her eyes were dark and unfocused. Oh no, Mom. Mommy.
Yuuji.
That was the name my mother used to call me when I was so much younger. It was pretty girly, but so I didn't really like it at the time. Sometimes it even made me think I wanted a girl instead. I remember getting angry every time she used to use it. Oh, let's get out of here, okay? This time we'll go somewhere really far away.
そうね。また逃げなきゃね。
It is more to my voice, Mom's mouth curved into a weak, strangely designed grind. No, it wasn't quite as sad as his usual smile.
でも、どこまで逃げればいいんだろうね。いつまで逃げればいいのかしら。
I don't know. As she murmurs those words, her gaze turned to my father lying quietly on the ground with his back turned on us. He hadn't even twitched since the blow to his head.
ごめんね。ゆうちゃんは足が速いから走って逃げなさい。私はこの人が私たちを追ってこれないようにするから。先に逃げなさい。お母さん、後から行くから。
Mom slowly picked her battered body off the floor. After taking a small drawstring bag, she slid into our bank boot and sealed adding the cash left in the wallet. Then hung around my neck. All the cash we saved little by little was in that bank account.
これが私たちの全財産。なくさないようにしっかり持っているのよ。ほら、早く逃げなさい。
Run to where? Mom again pushing itself into the ground, Mom tilted her head absentmindly.
そうね。とりあえず、駅かな。
As she mumbles those words, her eyes staring vacantly up the ceiling, I thought I could smell the reek of death wafting from her body. My mother seems to be gazing into some far-off place, a place outside the wall. I swallowed a wet of spit. It felt like a rock in my throat.
大丈夫？ゆうちゃん、一人で行ける？
The question frightened me for reasons I didn't understand. I nodded my head vigorously. It's fine, I'm not a kid anymore. I can go on my own. When I spoke those words, my mother's face bloomed into a pure, genuine smile.
そっか。だったら、一人で頑張って。ほら、もう行きなさい。
Wait, what? It was an innocent expression, a 10-year-old girl's smile. Another jolt of instinctive fear ran through me. I burst out the door and took off toward the station. I ran, trying to escape my own terror. It followed. I could almost hear its footsteps tapping steadily behind me. I ran desperately, gulping down air, the world a blur. Until finally I was in front of the station. After catching my breath, I sat down on the bench to wait for my mother. Reaching up to the drawstring bag around my neck, I squeezed it tightly in my hand. A powerful wave of anxiety pressed down my chest. What were we going to do now? It's fine, we'll figure something out. I wasn't really convinced of that, but forcing myself to think it's all work out somehow was the only way I could keep the fear from crushing under its weight. I sat there completely alone, listened to the shrill cries of the insects. By the time I looked up at the clock mounted on the side of the station, it was already past 7. The air was starting to grow uncomfortably cold. Just as I was beginning to regret not taking my jacket, an ambulance screamed by on the road in front of the station. The startling wailing of the siren instantly fanned the flames of my anxiety. That must be that. It would be surprising. I thought I hit as hard as I could. I was trying to kill him. I demanded my own father. And then I ran away and left my mother behind, all by herself. What good am I if I can't protect mom at a time like this? Why was I even born? Throwing myself out on the bench, I set out a spring back toward our house. What am I coming? My mother was a weak person. When Kazuki was alive, she'd been indifferent to me. But I wouldn't exist without her. She gave birth to me. She took me with her when she ran. I owed her everything. If I ran away now, I regret it for the rest of my life. Much more than having killed my own father. I rushed down the familiar stairs that led to our houses, waiting nothing more than to see my mother again. Just like that day, when I sprinted all the way to the canning factory to meet her after work. I ran. There was everyone sitting in front of our houses. Many onlookers had gathered around. Voices forced their way into my ears. Stab him with a kitchen knife. Wait, what? Apparently, it was a murder-suicide. I heard they found a note. Renting a house just to kill yourself in it. Honestly, a nuisance right to the very end. With every whisper, my heart throbbed painfully in my chest. Wait, what? As I elbowed my way through the crowd, some of the people from the neighborhood noticed me and raised their voices in alarm. Ignoring their completely superficial words of concern, I made my way to the front of a man in an EMT vet stopped me. What the fuck?
Oh, こら入っちゃダメだ
Shut up! As I struggled to get past him, two others paramedics made their way outside, carrying a stretcher covered in a white shirt. A man's arm was hanging limply out of sight. A cheap gold watch glinted dully on his wrist. That really is that. That really is that. I killed him. Wait, what? I murdered someone. I murdered my father. I killed him with my own hands. For an instant, the world went dark before my eyes. Dad's corpse was being hauled out of our house like a pile of junk. He died a miserable, undignified death. Wait, what? What happened? It was a shock, but at the same time, I felt strangely calm. I was watching strangers carrying my father's bodies away, and yet I felt neither sadness nor pity. It was exactly what he deserved. Now we finally be saved. Those were the only thoughts that came to mind. The reality of his death had really sunk in. My emotions were spinning around so badly that the centrifugal force had carried off all empathy, leaving a cold vacuum behind. The faint sound of creaking wood slid through my ears and echoed in the emptiness of my mind. What's that noise? My mother! What? She suicide also! The next thing I saw as I stood shocked still in the doorway was my mother hanging from a beam in the ceiling. You know what, Yuuji? I believe his regret is, he escaped on his own by laughing his mother, which he gave up on giving hope. But never mind. Even dangling from a rope with her back turned to me, I recognized her instantly. She looked just as she had when I pulled out of house. The paramedic had his arm around my shoulders. He was trying to drag me out of there, but my eyes were fixed on my mother's corpse and my feet were rooted to the roof. Another EMT in the room was reaching out to my mother to try and lower her from the ceiling. As he grabbed her legs, my mother's body turned suddenly on the rope. Her wide open eyes met mine. My legs turned to water. At first, I couldn't comprehend what I was seeing. The person who had been my mother was now a thing, an inanimate body, inanimate object. Some part of me probably understood that, but I didn't know how to process it. The first thing I felt was a grief of pity. It was simply terror, far stronger than any I ever known. And you scream. If this is how it was going to end, we never should have run away in the first place. If this is how it was going to end, we never should have run in the first place. If this was what was waiting for me, I never should have come back. But I never imagined it could end like this, not in my worst nightmares. When I closed my eyes, I could feel the contents of my head spinning violently in circles. No, it was the world that was spinning. I was frozen in the very center of hell, and the earth was rotating around me. The world spun, lurching on its tilted axis. Round and round and round. Right round, when you go down, down. My sister could keep her balance no matter how the world swayed, but she was gone. Then through this space, a strange thing. It small to you so completely that you can't even recognize what you are feeling in despair. Round and round and round and round. My eyes would stop spinning. It was making me sick. I lost consciousness on the spot. Bah.
おい、大丈夫か君。しっかりしろ。
The paramedics took me into custody and brought me to the hospital. Later, the policeman who came to question me in my bed told me that my mother had left a message behind. After convincing me to run away, she wrote a note stating I murdered my husband, then took her own life. Is that true? And at the very end of that note, she left me her usual apologize. Why did it turn out like this? What did we do to deserve any of this? I'm sorry, Yu-chan. I'm so sorry. Those were my weak-willed monster's final words written in the last moment before her fear of reality overwhelmed her fear of death. The policeman told me that my parents' deaths were being considered a murder-suicide motivated by their own overwhelming death. The paper in my hand was stained with my parents' blood. As I stared it down, it filled with self-loathing at my utter powerlessness. I felt something inside me snap and break. Okay. Next, what will happen to their Yama Academy? The girls. What were their response? What's with the long face? None of this is exactly news to you.
知ってはいても、こうして本人から直接聞けば、改めて複雑な気分になるわ。
I don't think a family tragedy or two is any out of the ordinary in our company.
まあ、確かにそうなんだけれど、こうしてみると、不幸の塊が服着て歩いてるような男ね、あなた。
You're going a little overboard there. Back then, I thought God hated me in particular, but I grew out of that eventually. Misery not exactly hard to find, you know, and everyone gets their share eventually. I just happened to get a whole lot off in a row, that's all.
それは今のあなただから、そう思えるというだけのことよ。私とあなたが初めて会った時のこと、覚えてる？
Let's see. Not that clearly, to be honest.
じゃあ、次はその辺の話を思い出しながら進めましょうか。コーヒーのおかわりは？
Sure. Yes! Of course, they will be terrifying. Yuuji felt more worse among all the other 5 years, to be honest.
あのさ、ちょっといい？なんか喋りなさいよ。
だってこんなユージこんな全部私が悪いのよ。
Yeah, because of Amane felt guilty for the disappearance of Kazuki-chan. That's why.
いや、別にそういうこと喋れって言ってるわけじゃなくて、つか泣かないでよ。私が泣かしたみたいじゃないのよ。サチ、あんたもなんか喋りなさいよ。
と申されましても。
なんでもいいのよ。なんか喋れ。
なんか喋れというと、インドの神様か何かでしょうか。
なんでやねん。もう、サチったら、母の歯。
松島さん、そんなに無理に空気を明るくしようとしないでいいのよ。
だって私はツンデレだから。
ラムネの食いすぎで頭飛んでんのか？
うっきゃー！本当にだきゃ言われたくねえ！静かにしなさい！シュビバジェ。
それにしても、情報としてある程度は知っていたし、それなりに想像はしていたけれど、思った以上にハードな過去ね。
親の死を見ちゃうってのは、 かなりきついのよさ。私なんかもまだたまに夢に見るしな。立ち直るのに5年はかかるのよさ。
Of course, Makina, your father is dead in front of you also.
私が、和樹を見捨てて逃げたから、ユージの人生がめちゃくちゃに。浜根のせいじゃないじゃん。あんたそうやって何でも、私が悪いで解決すんのやめなよ。
それは言い過ぎよ、松島さん。
私は、こういう暗い空気嫌なのよ。ごめんね、みちる。ありがとう。でも、この後は師匠とかいう人に引き取られて、それなりに楽しい生活ってやつをしてるんだよね。
Not really.
いいえ、残念だけれど。
私聞いたことある。確か、お兄ちゃんのパパの知り合いの人に引き取られたんだよね。
表向きにはね。
裏向きがあるってこと？
そう。表向きには、孤児となった風見雄二を引き取ったのは、父親の知人で美術品の貿易商を営んでいる桐原玲という男。
Oh yeah, something happened later, I think.
でもその正体は、世界中の紛争地に兵器を販売する武器商人、というか、テロリストだったという噂ね。
マジでか。つか風見雄二はどんだけ不幸になれば気が済むのよさ。
というか、どうしてユージはそんな人に？
Holy crap.
そこまでは私も知らないわよ。簡単な資料をもとに独自で調べただけだし。
その桐原なる人物が男色癖と言いますか、少年愛に傾倒していらっしゃったからではないでしょうか。
Sachi, back to her usual self.
ちょっとサーチ！あんた突然何言ってんのよ。だいたい何を根拠に？
昔のゆうくんは、それはもうびっくりするぐらい可愛かったですから。
いや、まあ、あんたの思い出の中のユージが美化されてるのは別にいいんだけれど、いくらなんでも、そんな理由で子供を引き取ったりしないんじゃん。
では、続きを読みますか？
Of course, we got to continue.
こちらに、つい今しがた復元が完了した資料の続きがあります。これをお読みになられますかとお尋ねしているのですが、どうされますか？皆さん黙ってしまわれました。どうかしましたか？
いや、だって、ねえ。
自称ムードメーカーのみちる様が、そんなことでどうしますか？わかりました。では、この重たい空気を入れ替えるべく、この小峰幸がギャグを一つ。
何？
ギャグ？このタイミングで？
はい。では、まきちゃん直伝の似ているシリーズから一つ。似ている。幕輪売りと間のくわりは似ている。
は？
ごめんよ、サッチ。普段の私なら大爆笑したと思うけど、さすがに今は笑えないのよさ。
Oh, so sad, Sachi. I'm not playing your games right now. Easy guy, yeah. We shall continue, I guess. I'm pretty sure we've been over this a million times before, but I will summarize for the record. After killing my father and driving my mother to suicide, I was taken in by the man named Kirihara Rei, a fine art dealer who know my parents. But I think you know more about Kirihara's real identity than I do, right?
ええ、もちろん知っているわ。
He's an asshole. We're going back. I met an interesting man today. I remember my father telling me that one night when he came home drunk but unusual cheerful, he'd been introduced by the editor of a quarterly fine art magazine to a man named Li Sheng, although he went by Kirihara Rei in Japan. Kirihara was an art dealer with strong connections in many countries with numerous celebrities and influential politicians as his clients. I first met him well before my family fell apart. Not long after the name Kazami Kazuki began to spread through the world of Japanese art, the man paid a sudden visit to our home to see her work.
すみません、桐原先生。わざわざご足労いただきながら、あいにくと和樹はまだ学校から帰宅しておりませんで。
いえいえ、こちらこそ突然の訪問で申し訳ありません。
Wait, this guy? Is this the guy from the very beginning? Kirihara Rei. I believe he wants to have revenge on him or something. I don't know. Well, let's just see. I forgot absolutely the whole story, by the way.
以前から一度は実物をこの目で直接拝見してみたいと思っていましてね。今日は本物を見ることができましたし、十分満足ですよ。
ご高名な桐原先生にそう言っていただければ、こちらとしましても大変恐縮です。それでいかがでしょう。娘の絵は金になりますでしょうか。
正直な方だ。ですから私も正直に申し上げましょう。絵の価値というのは、それを欲しがる人間次第なのです。そしてもっと正直なところを申せば、私どもの扱う商品の一部は、ある意味、価値がわからない方がありがたいのですよ。以前お食事をご一緒させていただいた折にもご説明させていただきましたが、私どもの仕事とは、絵を買い付け、ただ売りさばくことではありません。買い付けた絵に付加価値をつけることがメインの仕事なのですよ。未だ無名の画家から価値の上がりそうな絵を買い付け、それを必要とする人間に高値で売却する。絵画は贈り物として最適です。買い手はいくらでもいます。例えばある種の目的を持った人物に高額で絵を売却します。絵を買った人物はそれをとある人物に金銭的対価を求めずに贈与します。絵を贈られた方はそれを再び私どもに買い取りを依頼し、私どもはそれを高額で買い取る。そうすることで誰もが少しだけ得をします。高級絵画とはそうして生まれるのです。そういう仕組み、つまりですね、私どもとしましては未だ手つかずで価値基準の明確でない無名の画家である方がありがたいのです。ではそれこそ子供の落書きでもいいのかという話になるのですが、それはそれであからさまに過ぎる。その点、お嬢さんの絵には人を引き寄せる魅力が十分にあります。今はまだ無名がゆえに買い手は限られていますが、逆に私はそこに目をつけたというわけで、つまりはお互いというやつですな。
それで娘の絵はだいたいいくらぐらいで買い取っていただけるのでしょうか。
買い取りは売り手のいいねです。つまりいくらにでもなるのですよ。現状この場で金額を提示するわけにも参りませんが、これは長年美術商に携わってきた私の勘でお答えするのであれば、おそらくは数千万の値がつくでしょうね。
ありがとうございます。
What a jerk! After that day, after going home at my own place because I didn't have any friends to play with or any reason to rush where, I just so happened to overheard their conversation for the whole way. In a way, it was kind of comical to see my dad submissively bowing and scraping like a grasshopper, considering his usual I am God Almighty act. But mostly I remember thinking, is this really how adults will make a living in art? I thought it was so cynical that I was too amazed to even feel disgust. End the episode here. We're gonna continue in the next one. Finally, number 3 time. Idol se famosa.